You've just spent 3 hours at a dinner party with friends you genuinely enjoy. You laughed, you connected, you had meaningful conversations. So why does your brain feel like it's been running a marathon while your body feels like it's been hit by a truck? If you're autistic, what you're experiencing isn't just being tired. It's cognitive overload masquerading as social exhaustion. And the mechanism behind it reveals something profound about how different brains handle the hidden work of human interaction. Hey there, neurospicy folks! I'm Dr. Monty, and I'm an ADHD psychologist with a special interest in all things neurodivergent neuroscience. If you enjoy my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel to help me grow and bring more scientific understanding and awareness to a larger audience. Thanks so much! Most people think social fatigue is simple. You spend energy talking to people, you get tired, you rest, you recover. The popular narrative treats it like a car running out of gas. Linear, predictable, fixable with a good night's sleep. Even most research on autism frames social exhaustion as just a more intense version of what everyone experiences after a long day of meetings. But this picture misses something crucial. Autistic social fatigue doesn't follow the rules of regular tiredness. It can hit after interactions that felt genuinely enjoyable. It can last for days, not hours. It can make basic tasks, speaking, making decisions, even recognizing faces, temporarily impossible. And most puzzling of all, it can strike even when the autistic person is skilled socially, even when they appeared to be having a great time. This contradiction has left researchers, clinicians, and autistic people themselves searching for better explanations. Why would a positive social experience create such profound exhaustion? Why does recovery take so much longer than it should? And why do some autistic people describe feeling like their entire operating system has crashed after what looked like a successful social interaction? The answer lies not in the social interaction itself, but in the invisible cognitive work happening underneath it. What we've been calling social exhaustion is actually something more specific: cognitive load collapse. And understanding this distinction changes everything about how we think about autistic social experiences. To understand what's really happening, we need to think about the autistic brain during social interaction like a smartphone running too many apps at once. But this isn't just a metaphor. It's a mechanistic description of cognitive load theory in action. Cognitive load theory describes how our working memory has limited capacity. Think of working memory as your brain's RAM. It can only handle so much active processing before performance degrades. For most people, a typical conversation draws on working memory resources but leaves capacity available for background monitoring, emotional regulation, and sensory filtering. But autistic brains operate differently. Research has shown that autistic cognition tends to focus more on details and integrates information less automatically than neurotypical cognition. What this means in practice is that processes that run in the background for neurotypical brains often require conscious, working memory-intensive attention for autistic brains. Let me break down what's actually running during a typical social interaction for an autistic person. There's the conversation itself, tracking words, meaning, turn-taking. Then there's nonverbal communication processing, facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, spatial positioning. These don't come automatically, so they require active cognitive resources. Add sensory filtering. The restaurant's background music, the fluorescent lights, the texture of your clothes, the smell of someone's perfume. Normally, your brain would filter most of this out unconsciously. But autistic sensory processing often requires conscious attention to manage. Now we haven't even gotten to masking yet. Masking, the conscious suppression or modification of autistic traits to appear more neurotypical is perhaps the biggest cognitive drain of all. It involves real-time monitoring of your own behavior, constant micro-adjustments to eye contact, facial expressions, vocal tone, and body language, plus active suppression of stimming or other self-regulatory behaviors. When you add up all these simultaneous processes, conversation tracking, nonverbal communication processing, sensory filtering, and masking, the cognitive system can become severely taxed. The autistic person might appear fine, even engaged and happy, but their cognitive system is running at or near maximum capacity. Studies show that autistic adults often display higher stress responses and increased brain activity in regions associated with cognitive control during social interactions, even when they report enjoying the experience. Their brains are working harder, even when they're having fun. This is why the smartphone comparison is so apt. When your phone is running at maximum capacity, it might still function, but it's hot, the battery drains quickly, and if one more app tries to open, the whole system can freeze or crash. That's exactly what happens with cognitive load collapse in autism. The crash doesn't happen during the interaction because the autistic person is hyper-focused on maintaining performance. But the moment the social demand ends, when they get in their car, when they close their apartment door, the system finally has permission to shut down non-essential functions. What looks like sudden exhaustion is actually the brain finally acknowledging how much energy it's been burning. But the picture gets more complex when we look at individual differences and the latest research. Not all autistic people experience social fatigue the same way, and recent studies have revealed some surprising patterns that challenge our simple cognitive load model. A 2024 systematic review by Dorota Ali and colleagues at King's College London, analyzing data from nearly 4,000 autistic individuals, found that autistic burnout, which includes but extends beyond social fatigue, isn't just about cognitive load. It's about chronic mismatch between an individual's neurological needs and environmental demands. Some autistic people can handle high cognitive loads just fine if they're in environments that match their sensory and social preferences. The masking component is particularly complex. Some research suggests that masking isn't always cognitively expensive. Some autistic people develop highly automated masking strategies that become nearly as unconscious as natural social behavior. But here's the catch. Even automated masking carries a psychological cost. It creates what researchers call identity incongruence, a mismatch between internal experience and external presentation that can be emotionally exhausting even when it's not cognitively demanding. There's also the question of alexithymia, difficulty identifying and describing emotions. Studies suggest that approximately 50 to 85% of autistic people experience significant alexithymia, and this creates a feedback loop with social fatigue. If you can't easily identify when you're becoming cognitively overloaded, you can't take breaks before reaching the crash point. You might push through social interactions well past your capacity without realizing it, leading to more severe and longer-lasting exhaustion. Neuroimaging research suggests that autistic brains show different patterns of connectivity during rest periods after social interaction, where neurotypical brains show increased default mode network activity. Essentially, they shift into a lower energy screensaver mode. Autistic brains often continue showing high activity in attention and sensory processing regions. It's as if the system has trouble fully powering down. And then there's the replication question. Much of the research on autistic social fatigue comes from self-report studies, often with relatively small samples. While the experiences are clearly real and consistent across different populations, we're still building the neurobiological evidence for exactly why these differences occur. Some researchers argue that what we're calling autistic-specific social fatigue might actually be a more general phenomenon of cognitive load mismatch that just happens to be more common in autism. There's also emerging evidence that social fatigue in autism might be partially learned. If you've had repeated experiences of social interactions leading to exhaustion, your nervous system might develop anticipatory stress responses that actually increase cognitive load before the interaction even begins. This could explain why some autistic people report feeling drained even from positive social interactions they were looking forward to. If you recognize yourself in this description, understand that your social exhaustion isn't a character flaw or a sign that you don't like people. It's evidence that your brain is doing extra work that others don't have to do. That work is real, it's measurable, and it has real consequences for your energy and functioning. This reframe changes how you might approach social situations. Instead of asking, "Why am I so tired after something that should be fun?" you can ask, "How can I manage my cognitive load more strategically?" This might mean building in sensory breaks during long social events, stepping outside for 5 minutes, finding a quiet bathroom to decompress, or bringing noise-canceling headphones for the car ride home. It also means recognizing that recovery time isn't optional. If your brain has been running at maximum capacity for 3 hours, it needs time to restore those depleted cognitive resources. This isn't being antisocial, it's basic maintenance. Just as you wouldn't expect your phone to immediately return to full battery after being drained, your cognitive system needs time to rebuild its capacity. The masking component deserves special attention. If you find yourself constantly monitoring and adjusting your behavior in social situations, you might experiment with selective unmasking in safe environments. This doesn't mean abandoning all social norms, but rather identifying which aspects of masking are truly necessary and which are habits you can let go of with trusted friends or family. For family members and friends of autistic people, this research suggests a different way of thinking about social support. Instead of focusing only on whether someone seems to be enjoying themselves during an interaction, pay attention to their recovery patterns. Someone might have a wonderful time at your dinner party and still need 2 days of minimal social contact afterward. That's not about you or your event, it's about cognitive load management. It also means that pushing through social fatigue isn't necessarily helpful. While building social skills and tolerance can be valuable, forcing someone to engage socially when they're already cognitively depleted can lead to more severe crashes and longer recovery times. It's more like forcing someone to keep running when they're already dehydrated. It doesn't build endurance, it risks injury. Understanding the cognitive load model can also help with communication. Instead of saying, "I'm just tired," you might say, "I'm cognitively depleted and need some time to recharge." This helps others understand that your need for space isn't personal rejection, but necessary maintenance. Social fatigue in autism isn't really about being tired from socializing. It's about cognitive system overload from the hidden work of navigating social interactions with a brain that processes information differently. When an autistic person appears socially skilled, but still experiences profound exhaustion after positive interactions, they're not being dramatic or antisocial. Their brain has been running multiple demanding processes simultaneously, often at near maximum capacity, to maintain what looks like effortless social engagement. The exhaustion is real, the recovery time is necessary, and the experience reveals something important about the invisible labor required when neurological differences meet social expectations. Understanding this isn't just useful for autistic people. It's a window into how much cognitive work all social interaction actually requires, and how much we typically take for granted when our brains handle most of it automatically.